This is my little one module modular that I demonstrated in the last two videos I did. Today we're going to start adding some modules to make this a bit more useful. Specifically, we're going to get some CV control going on. That's this video. Morning folks, hope everyone is well. So yeah, today this is Brains from Behringer sat in a little Dope case. It's the smallest case. Oh yeah, it's still plugged in. Smallest case you can buy, I think. And what's nice about the Brains is you don't necessarily need a whole load of envelopes. You can just plug an output into it. And you can plug CV into it and you can make a ton of noises. Currently, I've been demonstrating that and I've been using the Behringer the TD3, so their first 303 clone, which has CV out and gate out. So this is a really inexpensive MIDI to, well, USB stroke MIDI to CV converter. Awesome. I was actually using this as a synth the other day as well. Yeah, I rarely do that, to be honest. So we don't, if you want to sort of take this to a gig, it looks like my little thingy is breaking. I'll fix that. So if you want to take that to a gig, we don't necessarily want to take that, have a power for that, power for that. So that's a bit of a faff on the road. So I have got myself a CM1A MIDI to CV converter module for Eurorack. Just looking at the picky, it's got USB, it's got MIDI in, it's got MIDI through, CV trig, another trig and CV. So again, obviously I've not read the manual. I've not even installed it. So we're going to get this in and we're going to see how that goes. Now, the observant among you will have seen that there's a USB connection here. So I can control this from USB, can I? No. This is for doing the firmware upgrades, which I haven't done. So I do need to get that. I got to sort this platform out. Okay, let's install this. This is a narrator mark. So I bought this unit as a second-hand unit, so I'm just doing the unbox here, and actually this looks sort of factory perfect. If you're buying second-hand modules, always check if it comes with the little ribbon cable and some screws, and this one did. So just doing a test fit there, and then I've just got the magnifying glass out there just to have a quick look at the board on the back. Yeah. Now I'm just fitting the ribbon cable. Now I don't know whether it's all modules, but these Behringer modules are designed so the cable into the actual module can't be put in the wrong way round. And on the little flying bus board thing at the bottom of the box, you want to install that so the red part of the ribbon cable is pointing down. This is a very deep box, so it was really hard for me to fit the new module without sort of unscrewing brains. I mean, it's really nice that these are very deep boxes, because then if you've got really chunky modules, they'll easily fit. But yeah, I think this is much deeper than, say, some of the Arturia boxes, and certainly deeper than the Nifty case. So this is a little bit fiddly. You're going to put the other end of the ribbon cable into the sort of bus board thing at the back of the box. Yeah, there we go. And there's always that, it needs to be pushed in, but you feel like you don't want to push it too hard. You don't want to bend any of the pins. So I think this little module just has 2 screws, and I say they did come in the box, so I'm just screwing those back in. They're not the nice curly ones that you can do with your fingers. I'd have to use a Phillips screwdriver, so I'm just screwing the brains back in there. And the way the box is set up, there's absolutely, well, there's like a, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter gap at the bottom, but yeah, there we go. Okay, back in the studio. Let's connect things up and see if we can get a sound. So I'm taking a MIDI cable from my USB interface into the MIDI in. That's easy peasy. There's a CV connection there, so I've taken CV to volts per octave. Haven't read the manual. I'm just guessing. There's a trig out, so I'm taking trig out into trig in, and then I got my main out of brains going to the mixer. Easy, easy, easy peasy. Do we hear a note? Yes, we do. Ooh, it's a bit crackly, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a quick transpose on my MIDI keyboard. So let's put some delay, some reverb in. Lovely. Cool. So that was easy, right? I still have a few questions, so I'm going to go away and read the manual. Then I'll do a quick update. Does the USB work straight out of my computer, like a USB audio interface, USB MIDI interface, I should say? Probably. Need to look at that. There's a switch below the trigger button that says V-trig, both S-trig. Not sure what that's all about. Also, the whole setup is all on MIDI channel 1 by default, and that just worked out the box. Happy days. I don't know if I can, can I change, like obviously I can change the MIDI channel on my computer. So I guess, yeah, if I just send it channel 16, it'll just pick up on channel 16. Will it still send CV out on that channel? I don't know. Maybe it's just it just gets whatever MIDI it gets and then happy days. The reason I'm thinking that though is there is a MIDI through. So, if this control voltage, say, only ever comes out on channel 1, you could set the DAW to be channel 16, say, have a MIDI through to another synth that was receiving on 16, and then the synth would sound and the modules wouldn't. So, which I don't know if that's a use case that you might have. So I think it's worth looking at that. And then I also, I have a second CV and a second trig output on the box. So whether that means I could, I could have 2 brains and then control those. Although it would just be like they'd be just having the same notes. So what would be the point of that? But cool. Yeah, I'll just go and do a bit of reading. But yeah, we've essentially got some MIDI control on our little, now two modular synth. Alrighty, let's blast through some questions that come to my mind. MIDI through. So I've got the MIDI coming from the MIDI through into a Volca drum here. Okay, so the MIDI is coming out of my DAW into my USB interface into the MIDI to CV converter, so we can play. We can play brains. But what you're also hearing that kick come in. So I'm just going to mute the synth. So that's the Volca drum, because drum number 1 is on MIDI channel 1, and I'm sending the MIDI to play Brains through MIDI channel 1. So the MIDI through is absolutely working as expected. What we can also say is if we set sort of channel 2 of my MIDI interface to send clock as well, we can trigger the Volca drum through the MIDI CV converter. Very cool. Yeah, we're hearing that. What we could also do is we could knock off, so don't send clock, and then I've just got some MIDI on channel 6 of my DAW. So that's playing 6. So on the Volca drum, the 6 drum sounds are mapped to channels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which makes it a bit of a nightmare to program. But yeah, it helps us do the testing. So the MIDI through is working exactly as we expected. Channel 1 is going to the synth, and then the MIDI through is whatever channel you're sending through the unit is going on to the MIDI through. So MIDI through, awesome. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Next question I had is there's a little switch on the unit that is S-trig or V-trig or both. So S-trig is basically how Moog synthesizers or old Moog synthesizers handled trigger. S is short for switch or shorting trigger. Apparently that approach wasn't adopted widely, and most Eurorack stuff uses V-trig, which is short for voltage trigger. So I guess that's like your square wave that just goes boop, trigger, and then off again, trigger, off again. So I mean, and I literally read that on Wikipedia, or it wasn't Wikipedia, it was some modular synth site this morning. So can I control my old Moog synthesizer with this MIDI CV converter? Yes, you can. Awesome. That's pretty cool. Behringer probably didn't need to do that, but they did it anyway. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Okay, next question. Can we control this with USB straight out of my DAW? So I've just taken USB cable straight into there, out of my USB hub. Easy peasy. I'm just looking in Reaper now, and what I see in my MIDI output device is suddenly I see Behringer CM1A. It's disabled. So the DAW has detected it. So I'm going to enable output to this device. Okay, I've got a little ARP set up. I'm just going to go to MIDI routing. Oh, there we go. MIDI output, Behringer CM1A, sent to channel 1. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a game changer. That is, rock up with this. If you're doing a live gig, rock up with that. Plug it straight into your laptop, and you've got modular mayhem on the move. Obviously, you've got to power this, but don't have to worry about MIDI cables, MIDI channels, run everything from USB. That is very cool. And I think that's all the experiments. I mean, we could obviously we've got other CV. We've got the other CV and the other trig output. So we could take a shot at running I have a little modular system down there, and and orchestrating everything from there. That would be cool. But I'll need to swap some power cables out and just power everything, turn everything on. So I might do that in another video. Let's call this video let's call it a day. So we've added some USB stroke MIDI control to our little micro modular setup. It just, it just works. It just works out of the box. I mean, love them or hate them, Behringer seem to just manage their drivers really well. You know, there's, you know, with my Euphoria, that just works straight out of the box. This just works straight out of the box. Well, I say I read the manual. I didn't read I read the quick start about this. I mean, there's not much to read, right? But yeah, all the technical details. So if you want other more technical details about, you know, sort of voltage and stuff, that is in the quick start guide, and you can just go and look at that on the Behringer website to see if that's going to serve your needs. There are other options, obviously, for doing this. Dofa do one, you know, similar sort of thing. I think it has USB and MIDI, and I mean that's one I think of off the top of my head. But there's obviously there's going to be others as well. You know, as a 2 HP, they maybe will do a tiny little one, possibly. Yeah, so obviously there are other players in this field, but yeah, let's wrap the video up. Thanks for hanging out. Give you a piece of gig news before I go. I'm going to represent Norwich's EMOM at the forthcoming Synth East sort of synthesizer festival. Very cool, very intimidating. So if you're attending Synth East, I will see you there. Come and say hi. All right, cheers, folks. Ta-da.